So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blockdaemon Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Uri Klarman, CEO of bloXroute, and from Blockdaemon, we have Freddie Zwansker, Ethereum Ecosystem Lead. So without further ado, Uri, could you give us a brief overview of what bloXroute is, its mission, and then in really simple terms, give us an explanation of the blockchain distribution network, which is a part of the bloXroute stack?
Sure. Well, hi, Connor. Hi, Freddie. Great to be here. I'm Uri, CEO and co-founder of bloXroute. We're called bloXroute because we route blocks and transactions. So at the core of what we do, we have an infrastructure and it propagates transactions and blocks extremely fast as almost in the speed of light. Our average propagation nowadays is under 140 milliseconds, which is almost as fast as physics allows. And so when we got started, I did my PhD at Northwestern University. My PhD is in computer science, more specifically computer networks, and even more specifically, the blockchain network layer. So blockchain is kind of like the crown jewel of my PhD dissertation. I studied it with my then advisor, now co-founder, Professor Kuzmanovic, and Eyal, my CEO and co-founder. And when we just got started, the idea was, well, if we send information really fast, could we scale blockchains, right? Could we do larger blocks and shorter time intervals? And this was, 2016, 2017, the blockchain scaling debate, Bitcoin Cash, for these kind of stuff. And we built the infrastructure, but they're like, you need better hardware. Is it a good solution or not a good solution for scalability? But then when we hit, the summer of DeFi, right? Summer of 2020, we had a bit of a oh shit moment where it's like, wait, we allow people to see information fast and we allow them to send information fast. So we allow DeFi traders to just make better trades. What's the latest price? Well, here's the block faster, you send your transaction faster. So all of a sudden, we found ourselves kind of like Flash boys for DeFi, right? Flash boys are the guys who connected Chicago and New York with fiber optics. And if you're 1 millisecond faster than everybody else, price skyrocket in New York. You're the first one to hit Chicago and you buy there before everybody else and you make better trades. And so all of a sudden, when DeFi kicked in, we found ourselves in the middle of it all. Nowadays we have over 300 customers, anywhere from Jump and Jane Street and Flow Traders and Wintermute and Ledger Prime and CMS and like all these guys to anon traders in a basement in Taiwan or something like that, anywhere in between. And they're using us in order to see information fast. They want to see other transactions. They want to see blocks on Ethereum, on BSC, on Polygon, on Solana. And then as DeFi evolved and MEV became a thing, Flashbot came. We actually offered private transactions, so avoiding others seeing your trades before Flashbot came out. But when Flashbot came out, and all of a sudden it's okay to front run one another. It's kind of like it's part of the deal, and validators reorder transactions. All of a sudden, all the MEV searchers became our users and customers, right? They all want to see other transactions. They want to send their transactions fast and nobody can see them, etc. And so our BDN, our blockchain distribution network, is the same infrastructure. It's about sending information extremely fast, but we grew from providing services to DeFi traders to MEV searchers, and now with the merge and MEV Boost PBS, if you're familiar with that, then nowadays we're actually a major Ethereum block builder. We're building between 5 and 15% of all Ethereum blocks, which is insane. Like, really? Like, who gave me the responsibility to build such a huge chunk of blocks? And we're a major relay. We're actually propagating transactions to the validators and from the block builder to the proposer and from the proposer to the other validators between 5 and 25% of the blocks. So we're a major actor there, and we're a very big and active actor both in Ethereum for DeFi users. So you're making trades, you want to see information fast, even if you just do CeFi, right? Like if you're trading on Binance and Coin, you still want to know if somebody's selling 1,000 ETH on Uniswap on Polygon or on Ethereum or on BSC. And so we're a service provider. We're not a searcher ourselves. We're not trying to take advantage of transactions, et cetera, but we're a major service provider in the space, which is how we got connected with Blockdaemon and started our collaboration.
And touching on that collaboration then, Uri, thank you for that overview. Freddie, how does the blockchain distribution network that Uri just touched on interface with the Blockdaemon API? And then what are the benefits of some of this integration for developers and end users?
Right. So as Yuri explained very, enthusiastically, let's say, and I love him. I love him for that. Always has been, always will be, I think. We integrated this BDN, this mempool access, basically into the Ubiquity API. And so that allows basically the benefits to all of our users, being it developers or traders or whoever might be using our API, to number one, send their transactions faster, so they propagate faster in the network, and they also enable the mempool streaming, so the fast viewing of what is happening on the network in almost real time, right? And so that's the advantage. That so basically we upgraded our service from being one node of many in the like the average fish in the pond. Now we're the quickest, right? And thanks to bloXroute integration for that.
And I even like adding on that, I think one of the things that are working well for us in bloXroute is that we have like this nice network effect, that we are the fastest. And so people using us, connecting to us, and then they see information fast and they send information fast. But then the more people who join us, the faster we become. And this can like feed itself. So at this point, this basically allows Blockdaemon. If you're a Blockdaemon user, it's as if you're connected to all the nodes out there in the world. And so like if you want your transaction to be sent to everybody extremely fast, to the block builders and to the validators, or if you want to hear from them, it's literally just as if you were running 100 nodes and trying to connect and literally connect with all the important nodes out there. So that's one important thing to say. And another thing, an interesting metric, which a lot of people aren't even aware that it is a metric and it is important, is something called the inclusion rate. If you send a transaction, a lot of the times you want it in the next block. Okay, it's kind of like, this is the latest price. This is the current situation I want to buy, or I want to sell, or I want to mint, or I don't want, whatever you want to do, but you want it to happen now. And a lot of the time, especially for institutionals, it's kind of like, oh, price is dumping. I don't care how much it costs or anything like that. Here's a position. I have 10 million or 100 million. Sell it now. I don't care if it costs $10 or $100 or $1,000 or 10 stuff. Like, make it go now. And if with the current design of MEV and block builders, if you just send it to one block builder, let's say you're sending it to the largest block builder. Okay, you're sending it to 0x69. He's producing 30% of all blocks out there. That means you're sending him your transaction, and there's 30% chance it will be mined in the next block. But on average, it will take, like the expected, on average, it will take you 3 blocks to get included. We run a block builder, but when we get private transactions, people are front-end, we actually send it to all the other block builders as well. Again, we're a service provider. I'm not actually trying that hard to make money from our block builder. Like, it would be nice to make money from that as well. But when we get from our users private, we send it to all the block builders. So our inclusion rate is roughly 1. Basically, give it to us, we give it to everybody, all the block builders who are participating in it, and it would be in the next block. And so for a lot of users, this is a very important metric that like they could benefit from. And even people who are deep in DeFi and MEV aren't like, they don't even think in these kind of terms, because a lot of the time, the people who are deep in it aren't necessarily the users. This is something that we're providing. And if you're a user of Blockdaemon, you're benefiting from this integration.
Right. And I agree. And you put it very nicely with the inclusion rate and how important that is. And the nice part that you said, it's like a win-win, right? Because by connecting all of our Blockdaemon nodes, and we have quite a few, obviously, that network gets faster. So there's a benefit, there's a mutual benefit, right? And that I think is the best basis for partnerships, always has been. So I think
when the whole is, how do you say it in English, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, or like there's a quicker, more concise way to saying it. But that phrase, so it's kind of like that. I think working together actually benefits eventually the user, right? Like we all like our magical money that we made up, and like yield farming and mints or whatnot. But eventually, this needs to be useful for somebody. And that's kind of like we want to make DeFi useful. We want people who are participating in it, benefit from it.
And particularly, I think in the institutional space, you get measured by the value that you provide to them, right? So there's no, they're very serious about this, obviously, and they have to be in different, aspects of it. But yeah, this is, all about regulation and conservative, but also because they're professional buyers in a sense, right? They know what they're looking for, and basically you have to build the best product in order to make their RFP or something, because they actually have a process for this and not just like some DeFi FOMO or whatever. I think the integration from bloXroute into the Blockdaemon API makes this product more compelling, adds some value to the BDN itself as well. So I think that's a pretty nice way to collaborate. And I guess we can chat about other avenues that we've already partnered with and might potentially partner in the future as well. But I'll leave that to Connor.
A few things you mentioned there, Uri. You mentioned private transactions, you mentioned institutions, you mentioned the BDN. I suppose give us an overview of the potential security benefits or the potential advantages from a security standpoint that bloXroute has in their current product release to institutions. And from a compliance perspective, how would private transactions benefit the institutional customer who would be interested in getting involved in the decentralized finance space?
So there are a few things here that's worth unpacking. From a regulatory perspective, it's less about the DeFi trading. A lot of the time it's more about the staking. And so Blockdaemon is such a huge actor at that and a very professional and trusted by many actors. So part of our offering is to say, we as a service provider should not decide for the validators and the stakers what they should do. Some validators just include all the transactions. They don't care what they are. They're maximizing the value. That's what they're doing. They feel great about it from their regulatory perspective. Other actors, depending on the region and their unique position, etc., are already saying that, we have an offering called blanking on the term for a second, regulated block builder. Basically, we don't include OFAC transaction in it. When we build blocks, we try to maximize the profit, but we don't include these kind of transactions because some validators don't want to take the regulatory risk of including these transactions in their blocks because, as we all know, there's quite a lot of regulatory kind of gray zone and ambiguity, and we all want the SEC to provide and the Department of Justice to provide clear answers. But while waiting for this process for a few years now, I could have my own opinion what they should do or shouldn't do, or does it make sense not to include OFAC transactions or not? But honestly, I shouldn't be making that goal. I am a service provider. So we offer these different block builders. So that's one thing that we provide, Blockdaemon as a major operator of validators can provide it to its users. Do you want to maximize profits? Do you want to be OFAC compliant and try to maximize under these constraints? Do you want to do the ethical thing and just avoid front running and just capture arbitrage and get private transaction, etc., but don't front run the users because, dude, I'm not sure that's a good thing if we're making DeFi worse by front running all the users. So we have these different options for the validator to decide on the regulatory perspective. From it's less security in the normal or regulatory sense or regular sense. It's more if you're a DeFi user and you're sending out transactions, the current ecosystem is ultra predatory. Okay, basically it means you send your transaction out there, it propagates in the peer-to-peer network until it reaches everybody,
in the Black Forest.
Exactly.
In the dark forest, not the Black Forest. The dark forest, yeah.
It's exactly. So, historically, prior to the MEV landscape kind of popping in, you send your transaction, it propagates around, everybody sees it, and then the validator would try to include all these transactions, those that pay the highest amount, and create a block from them. And, each one adds a block, and the result is the blockchain. But as MEV evolved, Then we started to see front running and back running and sandwiching, which is doing both. Basically, oh, you're about to buy 10,000 ETH. Well, I'm going to buy ETH just ahead of you, which would cost you to get a worse price. So I will increase the price. You buy the 10,000 ETH, and then I'll sell immediately after you. So I don't really want to buy or sell ETH, but you're making a transaction and I'm going to take advantage of it. The user gets a worse execution and the sandwicher extract value from that. So we started seeing that even before Flashbot came out with the current setup that I described earlier of MEV Boost and block builders. This is now done to the extreme. So every transaction out there will receive the worst execution it can, and honestly, like hurt the user that to be included out there. So if you just send your transaction out there, you will get the worst execution. And people say, well, just decide which price you want to take, right? It's kind of like you decide the trade that you're willing to accept. But it isn't that easy, right? If you want to trade, let's say you're buying 10 ETH, and you could use the exact current price, but if price moves against you a tiny bit, your transaction would fail. So you don't want to do that. You want to allow for a bit of slippage to happen. But whatever slippage you put, you're going to get exactly that. You're going to get the worst possible outcome. And if actually price went the other way around, you send your transaction during these 5 seconds until it executes, price actually went in the other direction. So you shouldn't get 10 ETH, you should get 10.1 ETH for your trade. No, you're going to get the worst execution. And so there is a thing we started, again, prior to Flashbots, called private transaction. Another name is front running protection. Basically, send the transaction. We will hide it from all the front runners and actually do what we call back run me. We'll try to see if you left any money on the table. If you made a trade and you just bought on Uniswap, but there's actually now the price of Uniswap is different from the price, let's say on Balancer or something like that. There is an arbitrage opportunity somewhere. We'll try to capture that and the user will get some of that price as well. So we're by no means the only team who was kind of like allowing to do that at this point. Everybody and their sisters are doing that. Basically send a transaction, avoid front runners, capture back running value. A big differentiator for us is that we allow it on Ethereum and BSC and Polygon, which nobody else is allowing. And we're kind of like first to be able to provide this service. You actually need to be connected with all the validators and you're working with them in order to achieve it on these other chains. But TLDR, for the user, if you're a Blockdaemon user, you might be interested to explore, how could I best protect my transaction? How much is it worth it for me? Could I actually make a rebate on it? And honestly, if I'm kind of like blunt, I'm not actually a giant fan of the concept of rebates. It always feels a bit, well, let's club the user on the head, but this guy would pay you $10 to club you on the head, and that guy would pay you $20. So choose who gets to club you on the head and etc. But would pay you the most. How about we the user in the head, right? That probably is a better future for DeFi. But with all that said, like this is a direction that we're going, and so going back to your question, Connor. These are the kind of services that we utilize the BDN, the fast propagation, to send it out there to get a high inclusion rate on one hand. You actually want your trade to happen, but you don't want to get front run. And if there's money on the table, maybe you can get a kickback from that and receive a bit more than that. And this is even more important for institutional. Okay, if I make $100 trade on Uniswap, honestly, I don't move the needle. I didn't move the price. I can put what I like. There's no slippage to be said here. If you're an institutional and you want to buy a less liquid asset, or you're making a big trade, you really don't have a choice. You have to put slippage because you're going to move the price of that.
Right.
And these kind of trades are exactly the trades that get affected and value extracted from front runner, etc. So these are the kind of things that if you're a Blockdaemon user, this is call your rep right now. It's like, okay, how about I extract like what's the best service I could get from Blockdaemon for that? So
And I think
I don't know if that's part of the current offering or not, but like,
oh, it will
again,
be.
our job is to
We're
create
actively,
value, right?
indeed, we're actively exploring this sort of front run protection, or participating in whatever form, rebates or whatever you name it. Like you said, I think there's an explosion of these types of services now, and bloXroute is obviously in a premium position to help the users protect against this. I think the jury is still out there how receptive the institutional customers are to this, because number one, I think they're less prone to be attacked, basically, because you would assume that with the higher stakes that they are trading, or the higher volumes, they generally tend to use already some other services, let's say OTC desks, or trading at the large exchanges at a preferable treatment, or using aggregators like 1inch or others.
Right.
So, but I agree, it's not always the case. And if they do, for example, set the slippage rate wrong and do a DEX trade, then they would be totally overexposed, and probably, and even like the ways or the avenues that they find now to trade on, like those OTC desks and other methods, just show that they are aware of these types of problems, because that's where they come from in TradFi, and basically it happened there in the early days until it was basically outlawed by the regulators, which is probably what we're going to see in the DeFi space, or the crypto space anyway. And we, as Blockdaemon, obviously embrace regulations, because we think it's net positive for the ecosystem. So it'll be interesting, how much they need it, like how proficient they are. And obviously there's going to be a wide range of these types of things. And then there's also the issue of privacy, because if you're offering your private order flow to some of those services, I mean, those services are also not just providing this for free. So they might be, trading on the back end through some other entity. They might be, leveraging the data. Like if you're not paying for the service, you are the product.
Yes.
like the saying goes. So that's going to be interesting. So that's why we're carefully evaluating all different options there, and probably will offer our customers an opt-in functionality into these types of services. And that way they have full control. And that's basically the same way with our relays, because you mentioned that in the beginning of your answer there. Just wanted to touch back on that. I think that's really, well, I guess our partnership started with the initial investment from Blockdaemon into bloXroute. So that was the very first step.
Yay!
And we're obviously very happy to be connected into such a successful, I can't even call you a startup anymore, I guess, but even though I guess Blockdaemon is also still a startup. Right?
Stop calling yourself
I don't know. It's crazy, and it goes so fast in the crypto space, the maturity of the entities. But anyway, so that was the first step. Then the second step was obviously our partnering on the relay front, like you outlined. And just for the record, basically, we only offer compliant relay connections to our customers, because usually our institutions are, at the forefront of regulation and being very careful. And totally, that's our customer base is, some of the largest banks and hedge funds and whatnot. So they're very careful about this. So that's why we're only connecting to OFAC compliant relays. But like you said, bloXroute is one of the prime providers in that, and actually offering a choice for other market participants in the other spaces as well. Like you said, I also believe in sort of the free market. Everyone should make conscious decisions and choices, and I think that's the main benefit for everyone, right? And like you mentioned, this that you're also multi-chain. Obviously, Blockdaemon as a multi-chain company, and we recently announced our wallet product for institutions. So this is not so much like, a retail MetaMask clone or anything like that. This is high-tech MPC on-prem technology that we're offering there for those institutions. And that's going to be interesting to combine that with some of those services. And that also will sort of be important with regards to the order flow that originates from those wallets. So before in Ubiquity, we didn't have that many sending transactions. It was more reading, because it's a data API primarily. You can obviously send as well, but there wasn't so much. But just saying this so that, in the future, this will become even more important for Blockdaemon and our customers as they, move over to our wallet. And that's why we're basically, investigating these protection mechanisms, and also like how, this NPC technology works with account abstraction and all those beautiful things that, that happen at breakneck speeds. Just always exciting. And particularly, I think that all the MEV stuff happening and the protection against it.
So I'm actually really excited
exciting.
about Blockdaemon's like NPC wallet. I think it's like because it's not a MetaMask clone with a backend of custody, but like the real thing. So I'm excited about it. And I think if you're thinking almost philosophically on what's happening in the DeFi space, then originally, okay, validators extracted all the value. Then our users said, well, you know what, we have power too. And these forces can like push against one another. Validators want to order transaction, etc. But on the other hand, like, I'm not giving you my transaction unless I get value for it. So we're seeing a lot of talk about like order flow auctions and how that value like accrued to the different parties. Users should get the best execution they could. And back to your earlier point about like, okay, so like institutionals are already smart. Yes, but first of all, institution is a very wide range. Like you have such a, okay, like large funds who are doing very few transactions, like big bets, like, okay, in the orders of like weeks and months, and so that's like one type versus the super DeFi trading trend following whatnot. And for me personally, it's kind of like, I don't want them to go to OTC desks and just like buy their using, which has got an abstraction of CeFi, who then go to Binance and Coinify there. And DeFi actually provides a lot of there, which kind of, okay, you could buy from like in the DeFi market stuff that you can't buy elsewhere. It's listed immediately. There isn't a process of, okay, do we want to list it or not? And so, no, there's like, if something comes up in the NFT, like something comes up and it's interesting and exciting, it's immediately there. And it's open to everybody, no matter where you are in the world, which is awesome. And also, institutions actually like these OTCs actually make money from this service. So like, can we make DeFi valuable? And if you're an active player in this space, you're probably bullish on it and want to see it succeeding. So it's kind of like, yes, let's see how we could use the Blockdaemon's cool MPC wallet to allow its users to actually gain as much value as they can and capture all the value that DeFi brings into the table. So I'm kind of like I'm excited about it. And I'm not sure how the future is going to look like. There's still lots of moving pieces around it. But at least for me, this is super exciting. Like I'm bullish on it. It excites me. Okay, how can we build valuable product which gives the users actual value?
Yeah, indeed. And the fun thing about Ethereum is that that's where it usually starts with a lot of this stuff. Like, for example, the MEV supply chain that we talked about. And I think this is going to come to other networks, like you mentioned, you're already serving BSC and Polygon, I believe. I think Solana might be in the works. Anyway, that's also where we're big on Solana as well. So that might be exciting. Also, our wallet already supports also Polygon. So yeah, indeed, that's something where I personally feel very good about being the Ethereum ecosystem lead, because I get to imagine or
you get to
experience actually.
Yes.
I get to front run all the other chains and all the ecosystems basically, because the rate of innovation is just I wouldn't say like everything. There's obviously other great examples of Cosmos or others that bring in valuable innovations to the crypto space as a whole. But I mean, I don't think anyone would argue with
activities
Ethereum
happening on Ethereum. Like this is like where like and just maybe a bit of like an alpha leak out there. It's kind of like BSC validate, or like we're currently working with BSC validators, where the idea is that there's now a phase of exploring what are the different services that users could use on the BNB chain and the BSC ecosystem. And that includes both private transactions and order flow auctions and building better blocks and extracting and all of that. And this is something that was very, like in the past 2 years, like the BSC ecosystem have tried to prevent MEV to the best of their abilities. But now you have validators doing it. And once you have validators participating in it, everybody have to participate. Otherwise, you have a strong centralization force. Everybody will stake with the validator that extracts MEV because it has higher APY. And so this is a thing that's like really new and happening right now. And a few, like, we're very well connected. There are a few other like parties who are involved there that we're collaborating with. And this is, MEV is super like hype and whatnot, etc. When people talk about cross-chain MEV, MEV exists on Ethereum. MEV almost to the same level exists on BSC, and everywhere else is like 2 orders of magnitude smaller. It's kind of like Polygon is third, but like significantly smaller by like between 1 and 2 orders. Everybody else, or like there isn't as much activity. It's just like the economic activity happening on Ethereum and BSC. So this is like, if you're listening to this, the tiny bit about like this is what's brewing right now and isn't very much in the public eye, but it's happening right now.
Yeah, love it. I think we need to do a separate episode on cross-chain MEV and everything that's happening there, because I feel
that'd be fun. And DeFi arbitrage, like this is this is my favorite thing to talk about nowadays.
Yeah, so the future is cross-chain, and MEV is not going to go away. So yeah, I think that's going to be a great episode. But yeah, Connor, I count on you to set up stuff there.
I foresee a sequel in the near future, Uri and Freddie, for sure. But I know that we're running close to time here. And Uri, Freddie, I just want to thank you for your inputs. Uri, as a wrap up, where can people go to learn more about bloXroute, and any final message here for all the listeners today?
So first of all, Twitter is probably the best place to find us. So like, look me up or look bloXroute on Twitter. And if you're actually a user and want like, oh, how do I best utilize the BDN and the service? Then okay, go to the bloXroute Discord channel. Our team is more than happy to kind of like, oh, here's how everybody else are doing it and they're benefiting from it, etc. I think if I have one message which I'm trying to kind of like make resonate out there because I think is important, DeFi aims to compete with CeFi. Okay, it's kind of like, yes, it's all fun and games and whatnot and magical money, etc. But like this needs to be valuable, and we should be building the tech that allows people to act. If you're in the trading domain, you should get similar execution. You should get similar pricing. Like this should be valuable for the user. And when we're thinking about what we're building in the space, this is what we should be thinking. Like I want to build stuff so people would not go to FTX or Celsius or Voyager and all the other stuff that blew up, because DeFi is just good enough. So if Blockdaemon are building a really great MPC wallet that allows users to be there rather than putting their money on an exchange, that would make me happy. Okay, like it's an easy choice to choose to be in the DeFi domain and self-custody with a secure setup, and not just, well, I'll just like throw it out. It would probably be fine, and it's never fine. So right. Like that's my message out there.
And I'm going to piggyback on that and say, let's not rebuild TradFi in DeFi, but actually innovate and serve the users in a better way and more resilient way, as we have seen through some of the crises last year, I would say. And my other message that I basically chose before you answered yours was like, be safe out there, because it is dangerous. We'll do our best to protect you, but always be on your guards to not get scammed, drugged, front run, or whatever. Do your own research, exactly. And for users to find out about Blockdaemon, we recently relaunched our website. It looks shiny and fancier than ever, I would say. And we also have
I'm going to look it up.
Tech docs. So yeah, go check it out. It's a brilliant piece of work from the whole marketing team. So it's been recently relaunched, I think last week. And the docs is also brand new. So yeah, check it out and let us know how you like it.
Absolutely. And on that note, Freddie, Uri, thank you so much for your contributions today, and look forward to chatting again soon. Thank you very much.